The fallen leaves tell a story. The fallen leaves tell a story. 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 The fallen leaves. The fallen. The fallen. The fallen. The fallen leaves. The fallen. The fallen. The fallen. The fallen leaves tell a story.
I have a confession to make. I have a man bun. When I was really small, all I ever wanted was an undercut. You know, where you keep the hair on top and shave the sides and back. Kind of like John Connor in Terminator 2 with his greasy mop and mad video game skills. I had at least one friend who had one, maybe more, but the one friend I know who had one was a troublemaker, whom my mom disliked quite intensely. So, no undercut for me. Instead, I got to grow out my beautiful locks in all their glory. There is one particular photograph of me that has burned itself in my memory. I'm standing on a balcony in Myrtle Beach. Seasoned fans will remember Myrtle Beach, the crowded pool, and the broken arcade from episode 1. I am definitely looking quite shy and quite awkward. I have no beard to hide my long-ass face, I'm chubby, I'm wearing a 90s ill-fitting acid-washed pair of jeans, which is to say I'm wearing something that was not the style at the time, and I have a large Orlando Magic t-shirt on. What I remember the most is the accepting look on my face. It is a soft boy's soft moment in his soft body. Something about this photo says more about me than I could ever write. I have had therapy on multiple occasions in my adult life, and one of the most recent ones, the therapist had me close my eyes and imagine myself as a child. It was a forgiveness exercise, as I often and gleefully made fun of my younger self. As I was being guided through my younger self, forgiving and accepting all the things I came across, at some point my thoughts were directed at this video that, as mentioned, is burned in my memory. I apparently emoted so strongly that it was worth mentioning. All I did was fondly remember my younger self in all his goofy, embarrassing awkwardness, and I smiled so deeply that it was worth pointing out. As I was transported back to this moment, this time of ignorance, this time that I had thought I forgot, this time I will never get back. It was an act of remembering something and it feeling good. And that act has become its own memory. And importantly, I got to admire my beautiful hair again. At some point, I cut my hair and did the standard thing old millennial boys did, short with gel, spiky sometimes, oftentimes soft, and eventually just looking for more of a lack of maintenance thing than anything else, so it just stayed standard short and boring, no personality. That was until I was in the latter half of my 20s and thought, I'm going to grow my hair again. This will certainly be the last chance I have, right? It's been 15 years. I'm in my 40s and I still have long hair that I have never let anyone but my wife see, quote, out. It's always up in a man bun since the moment I could gather it all up there. I had this man bun before it became popular in the late aughts. I kept it while it was hot. I kept it when it was lame. I still keep it to this day when it's largely been forgotten, and I see no reason to ever part with it, as long as I keep this hair, that is. I keep this hair because I like it, because I have a certain level of nostalgia for that awkward kid looking wistfully out at the overcast day on a tropical beach. Oh, to go back, knowing what I know now. That's the dream, right? Tell your younger self it's all gonna be okay, that they're okay, that all their worries and bullshit mean literally nothing to anyone else. Just live, little awkward boy. This is a common trope in fiction and truly discussion in general, and it's one that I don't subscribe to. Not even a little. Not even a little. All the hardship, all the discovery, all the confusion, all the wandering around in the murky forest of youth is necessary to become who you are, and I would never take that exquisite pain and yearning away from my younger self. I've spoke of my younger self in these videos as a being who is barely sentient, struggling through, trying to make it. But it's good stuff, man. That's good times. It's interesting that a common thought is to go back and coach your younger self to be a better future self. But we want the exact opposite for video games. How many times have you yearned to re-experience one of your favorite games blind again? Why do some people yearn to go back in time with perfect knowledge in their own lives, but want the exact opposite, to go back with no knowledge, like a baby, with games?
Hush, little Culver. I'll soon birth thee anew, a sweeting, fresh and pure.
The answer is the adventure, the journey, the pure experience. But honestly, despite the fact that I would at no point go back to, quote, warn myself of what is to come, because I honestly think all of that exquisite suffering was necessary for who I am. What I would not give to go back into Elden Ring blind. My god, what a beautiful game.
Weave thy night into being.
Before we begin, allow me to paint you the full picture.
Thinking back on some of the games that I want to forget has me nostalgic. I've spoken about Shining Force 2 at length at this point, and as you'll all remember, the moment the game's world opened up was special to me. Snot-nosed and barely sentient, I sat wrapped in awe as our motley band crossed the ocean, fleeing the cataclysmic event of Grand Seal sinking into the abyss. It was a beautiful moment, one that I'll never forget. But it is precisely because it was important and unexpected that I'll never forget it. This feeling is something video game devs have been striving for since the dawn of the video game.
Very well. Together we will devour the very god.
I know there are, or were, jokes about those lame press briefings with game devs where they showed off a new game and they say, "See that mountain? You can go there." The open world is something that's basically been in the water for years, decades even. There has been many attempts to get it right, and many failures. Many a tower has been scaled, many a point of interest plumbed. While I have a lot more to say on open world games, and as is the theme of this channel, I will get into it in a future video. What these games get fundamentally wrong is that it's not the world being open that is interesting. It's the world expanding. Very importantly, the world expands beyond your sightlines. That feeling you get when the world you thought you knew is blown wide open. I like this term. Expanding world games. I think maybe I just coined it, so let's explore this idea a little. The idea that what makes games special is not the map markers and seeing a mountain in the distance and knowing that you can climb it, but instead expanding world games intentionally obfuscate the horizon. Those are the games that end up meaning something to people, or at the very least meaning something to me. In Shining Force 2, the initial expansion of the world is actually one of many. It's honestly amazing how far ahead of its time that game was. As you travel through Parmesia, the name of the continent you land on, you meet friends and expand the plot. But before all that, you have to save a friend from some monsters, and in doing so, you cause a landslide, which cuts off the entire northern part of the world, turning it into a place where no one goes. This is a feeling that's missing when you can see the entire future on the horizon. Having freedom to do anything in a game essentially makes that freedom useless. The traversal is fun in Breath of the Wild, don't get me wrong, and the adventures I had getting to Zoro's domain were special, though fleeting. One of the most powerful senses of adventure that Breath of the Wild, rightfully among the pantheon of video games, though not my personal one, was climbing the icy mountain in the plateau. Yes, the tutorial section. So many different systems were being thrown at me that I started buzzing in anticipation of the game that was coming up. And while I loved the game while I was playing it, I never had the same excitement ever again. I saw the mountain, and it stared back at me, and that's it. It was as if there was some foundational knowledge that unlocked and turned the experience from one of wonder into one of understanding. It was one of those feelings that you have deep down, that you know almost instinctually, that you understand but cannot explain. Open worlds offer moments of clarity and understanding that few games can match, but these moments become cerebral far too quickly. If you know you can get to that mountain, you're going to go there, and you're going to experience it. If you see map markers, you know there is something there with a little gamer treat for you. It engenders a strong feeling of avarice, like you must go and do the thing. The game said I can climb that mountain, I better do it. Avarice and understanding are incompatible with wonder, awe, and anticipation. Open worlds do the former. Expanding worlds, through omission, mystery, and forced helplessness, do the latter. Expanding world games allow you to go where no one goes.
Tarnished, thou art but a fool.
I recently did a speedrun of Elden Ring for this very video, and in it I cosplayed as a Death Knight and brought Fia's ending to bear. I'm not too proud to admit that this was for me. I honestly just wanted to replay the game and thought, wow, I could definitely throw this into a video. I'm writing about Elden Ring anyway. These fallen leaves are telling stories and I need to tell mine, so here we go. The fallen leaves. They're calling. I got married in 2015. We did not do the big wedding thing, and I'm pretty sure we pissed off both our families by getting married the way we wanted to. We had a small ceremony in our backyard with just our parents, and then 2 weeks later had a party with only our, quote, absolute mains. I invited not a soul from my extended family, nothing but parents and siblings and their partners. That's it. Plus our friends. And not even all of them. And maybe I'm biased, but I think our wedding was the single best wedding that has happened in the 21st century. One of the couples who we invited was an older couple whom I worked with. I remember overhearing the older man say to his wife that we had no business expecting to have as good of a time as we did at that wedding as they walked out. There are a few games out there that have no business being as good as they are. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt comes to mind. It's the third game in a middling to terrible series of video games. However, it's also one of the greatest video games ever made. It has no business being as good as it is. Another game is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It's a triumph. And for a company like Square Enix, who prior to the 2020s held the dubious distinction of Development Hell Master for the previous 15 years, to come out with Rebirth in 2024 and quite literally blow everyone's mind with their adaptation of the Wednesday portion of a 1997 masterpiece is truly remarkable. Ubisoft can put out a new open-world palette swap every 12 months, and their teams never show the skills or growth that Square Enix showed with Rebirth. I would argue that Final Fantasy XV walked so Rebirth could run, but thank God it did. Rebirth is a triumph of open-world design, and I hope Ubisoft is taking notes. But who would have expected From Software, the people behind the elaborately designed switchback game design of Dark Souls, to take everything that the video game world assumed was just how it is in open world game design and blow every single developer out of the water on their first attempt?
Become my blade once more.
I certainly didn't. I prioritized Horizon Forbidden West over Elden Ring at launch, and wow, was that a mistake. Horizon is a good game, but Elden Ring is my favorite game of all time. Elden Ring has absolutely no business being as good as it is from an open world perspective. From Software birthed the new genre Souls-like, which is currently overused and overexposed. Genres either die in obscurity or live long enough for hundreds of shitty games to claim their moniker, and Souls-like is the latter. Enough ink has been spilt over what makes a game Souls-like, but in essence they take the basic remit of video games from the 80s, in that you have X number of lives to iterate on your approach to solving a puzzle or sequence, but instead boosts the difficulty tremendously and gives you infinite lives and many respawn points, essentially turning the game into a series of challenging gauntlets. There's more to a real Souls game, but that I think boils down the idea of the Souls-like. Beyond creating an entire genre, From Software brought a couple much more important things to the front in their design decisions. There is a distinct lack of direction given, and the story, such as it is, takes archaeologist levels of research and insight to half understand it, and that's about as much as you'll get. The expert use of implication or incident is one of the things that I think attracts so many people to their games. The fact that you have to read oblique item descriptions to garner any semblance of a plot creates an occluded horizon that is just interesting enough for you to become and stay intrigued to the end.
O horn-decked beast from higher sphere delivered, take root inside the tower sculpted keepers, and perched within, we beg of thee, rise. Cleanse away the strumpet's vile progeny.
Once you beat a Souls game, you spend days reading about the interpretations on the various wikis that are usually up before the games even launch. It's that old playground wisdom that we exchanged as kids before the internet, and it's happening all over the world. I've read before that Hidetaka Miyazaki's design principles came from his childhood, where he would read Western fantasy novels, but he didn't read or speak English much, so he had to fill in the blanks in his understanding. Much like Shigeru Miyamoto's inspiration for Zelda came from exploring the Osaka wilderness as a kid, this man's childhood ignorance birthed some of the greatest video games the world has ever seen. Beyond the core gameplay mechanics and the mood and unique storytelling, the Souls games also excelled in creating small, meticulously designed worlds that were so intricately interconnected that it blew everyone's mind. Every single person who played it remembers the moment when the Firelink theme started playing as you took that lift down from the church where you fight the twin gargoyles. Oh my god, I'm back here. It's a foundational moment in everyone's first playthrough, and I think a foundational moment in the evolution of video games, just as much as the Souls-like aspects described earlier. So, when I heard that after Dark Souls 3 brought the Souls series to a conclusion, the next game was going to be an open-world game, I loved everything they'd made, but it was just not really what I was looking forward to. Instead, I played through Horizon Forbidden West, a game I had been looking forward to because the first Horizon game surprised the hell out of me. And I was happy as I could be with a game like that, honestly. There is a ceiling to how good a basic-ass open-world game can be. And, you know, I finished it, it was good, and I moved on to Elden Ring afterwards, about a month or so after it was released. As much as I'd love to do a full game recap of Elden Ring here on this channel, I don't think that's my place. I think there are thousands of better versions of what I would attempt to do here that are already out there. This is my favorite game, however. I've only ever felt comfortable saying that about one other game, Hollow Knight, and I've been playing video games since the 80s. Noah Caldwell-Gervais said it best on his deep dive into Shadow of the Erdtree, that it became like comfort food for him. And it has the same control over me. I've soloed the game, and I've also sped ran it, for no audience, just because I love it. It's great, you all know about it. But why I needed to talk about it here, other than hopefully getting some soft-hearted Elden Ring fans to watch my videos, is because of one core aspect of the game that is foundational as that lift in Firelink in Dark Souls. The expanding world. As everyone and their mom knows, Elden Ring fakes you out a lot. When you first start the game and you step forth into Limgrave, you are greeted with one of the most amazing pieces of scenery in video games. And, you know, the map looks kind of big. Like, oh, this is good. Maybe it'll be really dense, you think. Regardless, I'm going to have fun. It's not as big as Horizon or any of the other Ubisoft clones out there, but, you know, it's looking pretty good. And then you realize if you just poke to the edge of the map, suddenly the map expands, and there's a new map piece for you to go collect. And in, obviously, one of the most amazing moments in the game that I'm sure every one of you who has played it agrees with, sometimes you might be wandering around and find a lift that goes down, and it goes down for a long time. And then you start seeing stars as if you were under the night sky, but you are under the earth. And then you realize that there is a whole extra plane of existence below the plane of existence which you are playing the game on. It's truly a marvel. And of course, there's the even bigger fake out where you try to open a chest and you are magically transported very far to the east of where you are, into the mushroom bedazzled hellscape that is Caelid. It really never ends.
I have endured more than enough. I ask you forgive me.
When you get to the midway point of the game where you think it's the end of the game, you're actually only about halfway through. There's an entire mountaintops of the giants to explore afterwards. And then an even more secret snowfield beyond that. And then another Erd tree, essentially, beyond that. It's amazing. It's one of the greatest expanding world games that I have ever played, and it just also so happens to be the greatest game that I have played.
That tarnished, it seemeth. Mother, wouldst thou truly lordship sanction in one so bereft of light?
Those stripped of the grace of gold shall all meet death.
Tell a story.
And that's a lot of great moments in this expanding world game. But I think one of the most obvious, perfect examples of this is actually as you exit the back door of Stormville Castle after having beaten your very first shard bearer, Godric. You come upon this view that was basically created to put you in a state of awe. There is the Altus Plateau to the right, and beyond that, for the eagle-eyed, there is the mountaintops of the giants, and actually even the forge as well. To the left, you can see an amazing plateau that ends in a very spiky volcano-like area. And directly in the center, the pedestal that the Academy of Rhea Lucaria sits upon. It's honestly beautiful. It's that moment from those old press conferences where they said, see that mountain? You can go there. Except it's so much better. And this comes after many, many hours in the game. Basically, Elden Ring is the definition of this new expanding world genre that I think I might have coined just for this video. To me, Elden Ring is the apotheosis of video games. It's been many years since it came out, 3 to be exact, and nothing has come close to topping it, and I honestly would be very surprised if anything in the next 10 tops it. And honestly, it's because of that expanding world aspect. And that aspect is actually why and go back and play this game blind again. Because those surprises, that dopamine, that prediction error when you wake up in Caelid, or when you wake up very far to the north in the capital, it is unrivaled in my experience in video games. There is nothing that has ever come close to rekindling that childhood joy and wonder than playing Elden Ring for the very first time. When I was young, I went through a major dinosaur phase. There were these magazines that were out there to teach kids about them, and I remember desperately waiting for them every month. It was similar to how I waited and saved and held out for Phantasy Star 4 from my Alone But Seen video. These moments where I was forced to wait were so foundational to how I viewed the world that I actually feel sorry for kids, and really most people today where, at least in the Western middle class world, you don't ever need to wait for anything. I think a lot of kids get into dinosaurs because of their mystery. But what has always intrigued me is that all of society from antiquity to today have sort of memorized the dinosaurs, as evidenced by the multiple separate mythologies surrounding dragons. Sure, they look a little different, but the fact that so many people throughout the ages came to have this idea of an ancient mythological monster that kind of resembled actual ancient creatures is powerful. An example of deep-seated childlike wonder that we all share. I think we find dinosaurs so interesting because they are proof positive of something that we can never touch, but one that we know existed. They are proof of the mythologies we told ourselves generationally for so long. Dinosaurs represent that beast-like nature when we were barely sentient kids.
It's been a long while, Morgoth. Long and hard didst thou fight, tarnished warrior, spurned by the grace of gold.
Miyamoto saw dinosaurs in the caves in Osaka. Miyazaki saw them in the snips of sentences that he understood, but not quite. I see dinosaurs when I turn down a street I've not walked before. I see dragons when I hop off the safety fence along the Toronto Bluffs and descend a dangerous and muddy path to Lake Ontario. I see triceratops when I stumble upon the idyllic grove amongst the massive rocks that line Lake Ontario's shore. In life and games, I see dinosaurs, dragons, and adventure when I seek out the places where no one goes. There are things that are only interesting to us when we have the minds of the stupid children we all used to be. But even when we were all those stupid children, barely sentient, we still had some understanding of the wonder that we all possess. We knew to nurture it and hold on to it for as long as we could. We looked to delay our understanding of the world, of the mysteries that surround us. We knew one day we'd have full understanding, that our ignorance was only a symptom of our delayed understanding, that we'd have that aha moment, that moment of clarity, reverence, that moment when the world becomes for just a second smaller and more intimate, where it nods and you nod back, basic, rudimentary, not something that came with preconceived notions. We got it. It's the moment you understand. The moment you understand is the moment you lose that wonder, and we all search endlessly to get that wonder back. Dinosaurs bring it back. They are unknowable. Dragons bring it back. They are unending. Video games, movies, music, a perfect breeze, an exquisite sentence in an incredible novel. They all bring it back, if only for a moment. So, I had a confession at the start of this video. I have a man bun. I had it long before it was cool, when it was cool, when it became uncool, and I still have it today when it's totally forgotten. But I would be lying to you if I told you that I don't love it, that I don't yearn to return to the days when it was cool. I have a strong affinity for the hipster movement and a strong nostalgia for its ascendance, and a strong sadness that the ideals that hipsters had, attempted understanding, co-opting of the uncool, etc., have largely died out and been replaced by infighting, othering, discord, disharmony, and an unwillingness to even attempt understanding or nuance. What I wouldn't give to have that absurd unself-consciousness of Portlandia to be ascendant again, rather than the precious, utter self-absorption of the present. I have a man bun, and I'm in my 40s. But I feel like a 60s hippie lamenting the failure of their revolution as they saw Gen X take a totally different route. So I understand why people want to forget their favorite game and go in again blind. I feel the same way about the world today, but you can't. I was talking to a friend, one of the only people I talk games with, actually, and I have to give him credit for the seed that grew into this video. He said, "What I wouldn't give to have the memory of Subnautica zapped from my brain, to go back into that game with no memory." I think Subnautica might be the perfect game explaining how and why the idea of an expanding world is, in my opinion, the apex of what a game can be. There is no horizon. The game is totally underwater, and there are things obscuring your every move. As you go deeper, the light leaves your environment and you realize you don't need it. The bioluminescence all around you can light the way. There is always a new world to explore. Until, of course, there isn't. And you wished you could get that feeling back, but you can't. We can always replay, and maybe replay a little late. Maybe replay 10 years after. Maybe try not to remember. Because what is life other than trying? And trying, and trying, and trying, and trying again. In the end, while we might not be able to get those moments back, that moment in childhood when you were truly stupid and truly happy, but we can try, and I'm gonna keep trying. Thank you all so much. Until next time, let's go where no one goes, together.
The fallen leaves tell a story.
So once again, thank you all for making it this far. I feel like this is going to be one of my longest videos, and if you made it all this way, kudos. I want you all to know that I actually had 2 other games in the original script for this video. Those were Breath of Fire 3 and Grandia, and anyone who's played them knows exactly why they were in the script for the expanding world idea. Thinking back on Breath of Fire 3, the fact that you were in a isometric 3/4 overhead view throughout that entire game essentially obscured your horizon. And Grandia has a gigantic wall that is called the end of the world. Literally, it's called the end of the world, and it's a wall. It's perfect for this. But I want you all to know that I am going to be putting together 2 special short bonus Season 1 Where No One Goes episodes of those 2 games in the near future, so stay tuned. And please, of course, like, subscribe, comment. And if you want, even go to Patreon, who knows? May as well throw it in there. Anyway, thank you all so much. See you again on the next one, where we can go where no one goes, together.